Good day, everyone. Welcome to our first lesson for Rizal 101. That is, the birth of a hero. After this lesson, you will be able to identify the different cultural influences of the family and you will be able to trace the lineage of the Rizal family. Our talking points are the following: the birth of Rizal, Calamba, the cradle of the genius, the parents of Jose Rizal, the siblings of Jose Rizal, Rizal's ancestry, the name of Rizal, and the family life. The Filipinos class were well known throughout the world with their sense of nationalism. Since the Spanish era until the latest people power, the Filipinos had generously expressed their ideals of their own love of freedom of their country. This certain noble love that we Filipinos are proud of should always be remembered and practiced, and therefore should be taught to the younger generations. For this reason, the Republic Act No. 1425, or popularly known as the Rizal Law, was promulgated on June 12, 1956. The Rizal Law, or Republic Act No. 1425, states that all public and private schools, colleges, and universities in the country must include in their curricula courses or subject about the life, works, and writings of Dr. Jose Rizal, particularly the novels No Me Tangere and Il Filibusterismo. In this law, the honor of the Filipinos' nationalism, particularly our national hero, Dr. Jose Rizal, is met with special fondness and devotion by the younger generations during their formal education. The works of Dr. Jose Rizal, especially the No Me Tangere and Il Filibusterismo, are excellent and inspiring source of nationalism or patriotism in which the Filipino youths should also recognize and put into practice. Since, also in school, the minds of these youths are carefully molded with proper knowledge and discipline. Therefore, in school, the enacted curricula course of subject is also a way of teaching the youths of being a good Filipino citizen. To let the youth to better understand the importance and purpose of the law, the following are its intentions. First, the law aimed to make the life and experience of Rizal during the Spanish era an inspiration to the Filipino people, especially the youth. Second, the law seeks to have the Filipinos their own principles of freedom and nationalism, which was valued by our heroes. Third, it aimed to re-arouse the patriotic feelings of every Filipinos and be able to pass such feeling by the youth of today to the next generation. And fourth, it aimed to also acknowledge the national hero, Dr. Jose Rizal, and remind each Filipino his great part in the history of the Philippines. The bill passed through a series of debates and deliberations and even controversies because the Catholic Church was not in favor of it. The Catholic Church was against the passage of the bill because of the anti-church contents of Jose Rizal's two novels, No Me Tangere and Il Filibusterismo. But the authors of the bill, Claro M. Recto and Jose P. Laurel, were able to defend the bill and able to convince the members of the Congress. To strengthen the implementation of the Rizal Law, the following are issued. First, the Memorandum Order No. 247, directing the Secretary of Education, Culture and Sports, and the Chairman of the Commission on Higher Education to fully implement the Republic Act No. 1425. Second, the CHED Memorandum Order No. 3, Series of 1995, enforcing strict compliance to Memorandum Order No. 247. This time, let's talk about the birth of Rizal. From the biography of Jose Rizal, Memoir of a Student in Manila, he was born on a moonlit Wednesday on June 19, 1861, between 11 and 12 o'clock at midnight, a few days before full moon at Calamba, Laguna. His birth would have cost his mother's life had she not vowed to the Virgin of Antipolo that would take him on a pilgrimage of her shrine. He was baptized at the Catholic Church of Calamba on June 22, when he was only 3 days old, by a priest, Reverend Father Rufino Collantes, a close friend of his family who also stood as his godfather. It should be noted that during the baptismal ceremony, Father Collantes was impressed by the boy's big head. He politely told the members of the family who were present to take good care of this child, for someday he will become a great man. His words proved prophetic and later explicitly confirmed by subsequent events. The name Jose was chosen by his mother, who was a devotee of the Christian Saint San Jose or Saint Joseph. Calamba, the cradle of genius. Scenic Calamba is the picturesque town that gave birth to our national hero. Calamba is a town named after a big native jar surrounded by a big hacienda which belonged to the Dominican order. The parents of Jose Rizal. Francisco Mercado Rizal. The hero's father was born in Biñan, Laguna. His great-great-grandfather was a Christian Chinese named Domingo Lamco. He studied Latin and philosophy at the College of San Jose, Manila. He was hard-working and progressive farmer who became well-to-do through industry and with the assistance of his cultured and talented wife. He was a man of solid shoulders, strong constitution, tall with prominent forehead and dark eyes, a pure Filipino. Dr. Jose Rizal called him a model of fathers. He died at the age of 80, a year after the hero's execution. We also have class Doña Teodora Alonzo. Rizal's mother was born in Manila on November 8, 1826, where she grew up and studied at the College of Santa Rosa. She is a woman of remarkable talent in mathematics, business, and literature. She possessed refined culture, strong spirit, and the fortitude of a Spartan woman. She belonged to a distinguished family, her father having once a delegate to the Spanish Cortes, while his brother was educated in Europe and spoke different languages. She was imprisoned by the Spanish authorities for filmy reasons, but bravely endured the persecutions. She died at 85. According to Rafael Palma, Rizal inherited from his father a profound sense of dignity and self-respect, seriousness and self-possession, and from his mother the temperament of the poet and dreamer and bravery for sacrifice. This time, let's talk about the siblings of Jose Rizal. The marriage of Francisco Mercado and Teodora Alonzo were blessed with 11 children, 2 boys and 9 girls. Let's start with Pasiano. Pasiano was the elder and only brother of Jose Rizal. Being a decade older than Rizal, Pasiano became a second father to his sibling. Became an agriculturalist, like his father, he had a college education in Manila. People who knew him believed that he was the Filosofo Tasio in Nole Me Tangere. He succeeded in sending the young Jose to Europe to study. During the younger years, Pasiano would continue supporting his brother financially. He died in Los Baños, Laguna on April 13, 1930. Next is Saturnina, also known as Neneng, was the eldest of Rizal's children. She married Manuel T. Hidalgo, affectionately called Maneng by Rizal, who was a native of Tanawan, Batangas. The third child of Francisco and Teodora is Narcisa. She was a teacher and a musician by profession, and married Antonino Lopez, who was a school teacher in Morong, Rizal. The fourth child is Olympia, who married Silvestre Ubaldo, a telegraph operator from Manila. The fifth child of the Rizal family is Lucia, who was married to Mariano Herbosa of Calamba. She died in 1887. The sixth of the 11 children is Maria, who married Daniel Faustino Cruz of Binian, Laguna. Then we have Jose. Later to become the Philippine national hero, was the second son and seventh child. Next is Concepcion, also known as Concha, was the eighth child of the Rizals, who died at the age of 3. Josefa was the ninth child and affectionately called Pangoy. She remained a spinster throughout her life. Next is Trinidad, was the 10th child who, like Josefa, died without a husband. And the youngest was Soledad, who married Pantaleon Quintero, a native of Calamba. She is also known as Choleng, the controversial sister. This time, let's talk about Rizal's ancestry. Jose Rizal, like a typical Filipino, was a product of mixed ancestry. It can be inferred that in his veins flowed then blood of both East and West, Chinese, Japanese, Malay, and Spanish. Rizal was a sixth-generation patrilineal descent of Domingo Lamco, in Chinese, Ke Yi Nan, a Chinese immigrant entrepreneur who sailed to the Philippines from Xinjiang, Chenzhou, and arrived here in 1960. Lamco became a Christian and married Ines de la Rosa, a Sangley native of Luzon. To free his descendants from the anti-Chinese animosity of the Spanish authorities, Lamco changed the family surname to the Spanish surname Mercado, meaning market, to indicate their Chinese merchant roots. Domingo Mercado and Ines de la Rosa had a son, Francisco Mercado is the name, who resided in Binian and was elected as Gobernador Silio. He married Cirila Bernancia, a Chinese-Filipino mestiza. One of their sons, Juan Mercado, Rizal's grandfather, married Cirila Alejandro, a Chinese-Filipino mestiza. Like his father, he was elected Gobernador Silio of Binian. They had 13 children. The youngest was Francisco Mercado, Jose Rizal's father. Aside from indigenous Filipino and Chinese ancestry, recent genealogical research has found that Jose had traces of Spanish and Japanese ancestry. His maternal great-great-grandfather, Teodora's great-grandfather, was Eugenio Ursua, a descendant of Japanese settlers who married a Filipina named Benigna. They gave birth to Regina Ursua, who married a Sangley mestizo from Pangasinan named Attorney Manuel D. Quintos, Teodora's grandfather. Their daughter, Brigida de Quintos, married a Spanish mestizo named Lorenzo Alberto Alfonso, the father of Teodora. The name of Rizal. In 1849, Governor-General Narciso Claveria ordered all Filipino families to choose new surnames from the list of Spanish family names. Jose's father, Francisco, adopted the surname Rizal, originally Rizal, the green of young growth or green fields, which was suggested to him by a provincial governor whom Jose described as a friend of the family. However, the name change caused confusion in the business affairs of Francisco, most of which were begun under the old name. After a few years, he settled on the name Rizal Mercado as a compromise, but usually just used the surname Mercado. The family life. The Rizal family was a respected and considered one of the richest families in Calamba during that time. In fact, class, the family belongs to the Principalia, the town's aristocrat during Spanish times. Because his parents were industrious, they were able to build a big house, the house in which the hero was born, one of the distinguished stone houses in Calamba during those times. It was a 2-story building, rectangular in shape, built of adobe stones and hardwoods, and roofed with red tiles. Behind the house were the poultry yard full of turkeys and chickens, and a big garden of tropical fruit trees like atis, balimbing, chico, makopa, papaya, santol, tampoy, and etc. They were one of the few families to own a carruaje, horse-drawn carriage, the first to have home library with almost 1,000 volumes, and probably the first to send their children to Manila to study in college. The Rizal family was truly a happy social institution where parental respect and affection reigned supreme. Both parents and children lived harmoniously, united by strong ties of affection, understanding, and respect. Don Francisco and Doña Teodora loved their children, but they never spoiled any one of them. They trained and imbibed to their children to respect the law, give everybody its due, behave well, be obedient, and to respect people's right, especially to the old folks. They were strict but fair and firm. That's it! I hope you learned something about the birth of our hero. See you in our next discussion. Bye!